I knew I wanted to go out on my own. I knew I wanted to make less money for myself and more money for somebody else. After being let go, I was like, I gotta go for this. I remember when I got my first yes from Sony Cine, I was driving to the gym and I just cried. I know my audience, and that's the reason why you're coming to me. I try not to get emotional, but imposter syndrome is real. I was so fired up, but it was immediately followed by like, who am I? Who am I to be doing this?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 133 of the 505 podcast. Today we got Jonny Roams in the building. We took the 505 pod mobile and we went all the way out to Utah. He almost let me drive that Porsche. I was so close.
Do you know why he didn't?
I don't want to know.
Because you don't own a Leica like me and him.
You guys have that. You guys have that in common. You dusted off the paperweight and you brought it out there. How did it feel?
It felt really good. And honestly, I don't know what the F I have been doing shooting with this FujiFilm when I have a Leica Q2 sitting in my closet. It was so fun to go out and shoot with him after. He's like Mr. Utah. You know,
Jonny has such an incredible story. I had no idea that he was once in the medical industry.
Yeah.
He completely 180 shifted, and now he's doing all these awesome things. He has a partnership with Sony Cine that's coming out. It is an incredible podcast filled with value. We dive into so much of his story and how he's doing all these awesome things now.
We go into him feeling a lot of like imposter syndrome, which is so crazy because you look at his stuff and you're like, this guy is dialed. He has it figured out. Of course, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he still deals with the feelings of like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or like he talks about the first time working with Sony of like, oh, why me? And I totally can relate to that because like first time I shot with Loud Luxury, I was like, they could choose anybody. Like I feel like everybody can relate to imposter syndrome no matter what level you're at.
It's an incredible conversation. I don't want to hold you any longer. Let's get into it. All right, Jonny Roams, give me the one-handed crack. Okay, you're up off your knee.
Geez.
Okay, yep. Oh, the couch
like
got
it.
the couch.
It's just
little
water.
super soaker on the
Just
couch.
water, thankfully.
Okay, I'm gonna show you how to do it, Costas.
That was really good, Braden.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
I got sparkling.
Damn
it!
here.
I did not mean to get sparkling. That was one of your better ones. Oh my god,
The
a
dent.
4-2. Let me see yours. Did you dent it?
I did dent it. Yeah,
you did dent
absolutely
it.
did. Wait, was that the pre-dent?
I think it was a pre-dent.
Oh, I didn't dent it.
Dude, he had a good score. A
Yeah.
lot of splash, but we're also in
lot of
Utah. We're
splash.
making a splash this
7-1.
weekend.
Congratulations. Welcome to the show.
Cheers.
Here we go, Jonny.
Dude, I got to be honest. I fucking hate sparkling water.
No, I do too. And I looked at it and I said spring water. That was what I thought I bought, and I'm really sorry about that.
Well,
I'm sorry to
dyslexic,
both
and
of
it's
you.
all good.
It's
Oh,
all
that's good.
Yeah, that's on me. I thought that I really did. I thought that I got the.
All right,
right
Jonny,
one.
here's the thing. You got some really sweet toys. You got a fucking sick car in the driveway. Nice Porsche. You got a Leica. You got a FX6 Fig. You going to get that?
I'm buying that soon. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
It's eyeballing me.
And when we were chatting before we came out here, you were telling us that getting the Leica low-key changed like your process and how you go about photography. So can you explain to us a little bit about why you decided to get a Leica, how it has changed your process, and do you feel like it's necessary to have a Leica to get banger photos like you?
Okay, I'll start by saying no, it's not necessary, but it does help.
Hell yeah.
I am in the camp of gear does matter. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
We love gear.
But I guess a little backstory. I was kind of in a funk with my, photos and whatnot. And my local camera store had a Q2 for sale used. And I know the guy, and he was like, if you want to just borrow it for a few days. And I know what he was trying to do. Like, as soon as I got my hands on that thing, as soon as I saw those photos, like, I instantly wanted it. But I just went up. It was like beginning of the mid-spring. So, like, the Utah mountains started to kind of melt and open up. And we went up to Sundance with my wife and kid. And I just had it with me then. It's so portable and just snapped away. We went up at, like, the ski lift and stuff. And it just, something just clicked inside of me. Like, these were some photos that I was just super happy with, and I shared a few of them, but they're not like bangers, but it just made me kind of visualize things a little differently. It's really hard to put into words, but it was minimal editing, it was portable, I didn't even know it was there, and I was able to document these memories that I wouldn't necessarily have captured if I had my whole A7 IV at the time with me.
Does it feel less invasive too to just have that on you?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I went down, you have 3 years of like insane content on Instagram that's visible right now. And I feel like with all of us like that we've ever interviewed on the show, there's like a period of time where I'm like, oh, there's like a big shift here. But with your stuff, it's so consistent from these last years that I've seen your stuff, all of it on YouTube. It's very consistent. There is definitely like a style there. When do you feel like you found that style with your editing and with maybe your photography?
Okay, so let me try to break this down properly. There's two things. The Leica definitely had a huge part in that, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I think the biggest thing is when I started, and a lot of, you know, especially landscape and adventure and travel photographers, they get caught up in this like the one banger. You know, they see these locations that are being posted and shared, and they get hyper fixated on that one spot, that one sunset, that one sunrise. And then everyone just ends up with the same stuff. So I think for me, there was a shift, and I can't really remember. I think it was just a continual thing of where I wanted to tell more of a story, and I wanted to free myself in a way and not be constrained by this chasing this one thing. Because there was time and time again, I'd go to a location and, you know, it would be fully overcast or whatever. And I think that was the biggest thing, when I could separate from that. And not worry about that one moment, and, you know, tell more about the people and more about the adventure itself. One, it connected with my audience a lot. My audience connected it with it a lot better, but then it also made it less stressful. And it made it different because everyone has those, you know, like angel landing photos or Yosemite photos, and just kind of separating from that, you know, that same thing that everyone's chasing, it helped set me apart. If that's what I feel, at least.
So you've done it for so long. Do you now not really like to go where other people have taken many photos of like a very similar spot? Do you try to find those places that are a little bit more remote?
No, I'll still go, but I always try and not focus on those same compositions. And there's nothing wrong when people do that, you know, because I have friends who take some of the best photos I've seen in some of these locations. And compositions we've all seen before, but, you know, everyone has their own unique style. But for myself, I just want to focus more on that story, and it kind of, I feel it does, I feel it helps other people see that you can create something that gives like an emotional connection, no matter where you are. You know, a lot of my photos, you know, I take from like the inside of my car. You know, if it's like I'm on a trail or something, I'll just, whilst in the driver's seat, you know, I've framed it up with a windshield, and I think that kind of helps people realize, oh, I can tell these stories wherever I am, if that makes sense.
I feel like I'm still in the camp of, if I go somewhere and I don't get a banger photo, like, I'm pissed. And I'm still trying to work through it. Maybe I need to go to like therapy or something, but I'm still in the camp of like, if I go somewhere and I don't get a bang, like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was just in Italy for a wedding, and we were in the Amalfi Coast, and I was taking photos, but it was like gloomy and rainy, and I was looking back at some of the photos, and some of them are great, but some of them, like, there's just too much clouds. Like, this is not how the photo should be. And I get like really down on myself of like, I had this, I almost feel like I set my expectations too high when I go out to take photos, instead of kind of being like you and being like, if I get some great shots, amazing. If not, it's all good.
Yeah.
Was that a mindset shift? Have you ever felt that way with the things that you're doing?
Yeah, no, definitely a mindset shift. And I think one thing was getting photo books and looking through those, because you look at some photo books from some of our, you know, hero photographers, you know, if some of these were posted on Instagram today, a lot of people would think, well, this kind of sucks. But, you know, when you actually break it down and look at it, they're actually really good in their own way. You know, the composition, you got, and you got to separate from that end goal. I think that's the bottom thing, is what I'm trying to say is, and a couple of inspirations for me, they don't really hyper focus on that end goal either. And that's another thing, like, you know, Short Stash, for example, there's Evan Ramped, another example. They just create really good art no matter where they are. And I think that's what kind of helps you. That's like the next natural progression after, you know, everyone kind of starts off going to those easy locations. And I don't mean to like belittle people who are just, you know, fine art landscape photographers because they want to go to these cool places. But, you know, if you want to kind of get out of that mindset, because it is hard when you end up with the bad weather and it gets you down. But that was the freeing thing for me. Just pushing out of that mindset and trying to tell a story no matter what the conditions were.
I feel like Short Stash is so good at, I mean, just content in general, but like finding the beauty in the mundane and like being able to go anywhere and find that composition in that shot and tell a story. For you, how do you feel like you're able to tell a story through your photographs, and what do you feel like allows you to tell stories through your photos as opposed to just getting like that one banger?
I think the way that I've kind of progressed is my main goal is really to inspire others to go on an adventure, you know, get the keys, get in the car and just go somewhere and just explore. So I always try and incorporate like a vehicle. You know, I got the Porsche, I got the truck. So I think that kind of creates some sort of a connection with the viewer, you know. If they have a truck or whatever, or if they're into classic cars, then it makes that emotional connection. So I think that kind of helps facilitate, and especially if it's something kind of cool, because the Porsche is kind of sick, so I can like use that no matter where I am.
Yeah.
And it helps make something that's relatable and stands out in a way.
How do you think photographers can find their style? I feel like that's something that's so hot right now on YouTube, on Instagram, like everyone's talking about it, but how can someone just go out and find their style if they're just starting out? Because I think it can be intimidating too to see people at the top of their game. It's also, I feel like it's inspiring, but also can be intimidating because you're like, man, how I'm looking at the stuff I'm taking and it's not like, you know, these guys or girls that I'm seeing online.
Yeah, that's tough.
$1 million question.
It is. I think, at least for me, taking in all of your inspirations, seeing what you like about them, and obviously trying to incorporate them in your. And I think to an extent, you know, for people starting out, I definitely think it's fine to copy in a way. You know, if you see a photo that is executed nicely and you like it, just recreate it yourself. See what elements of that photo you like, and then, you know, find another photographer and copy that one, and then take it all together and take pieces that resonate with you. And I think another thing, because one of the biggest things that I've found talking to like new creators is getting like a consistent color. And I think it's great for new photographers to just buy a bunch of presets and try them out, because, you know, they're like the cost of like a cup of coffee or something, half of these ones. And I did that, you know, like Art Visuals back in the day, they had all their presets. Like I bought those and, you know, tried them out. And then that helps you kind of see how things react with different photos. And it gives you like a breakdown of like the tone curves and everything. And I would just kind of look and see, you know, which one was reacting well. And that kind of just helped me see what I liked out of all of those, you know, what kind of grade did I like in the shadows, what I like in the highlights. And I think that just kind of helps you get to that end point.
I remember when I discovered the HSL curves, or like
Game changer.
and how to change the tones. I remember being like, how does Sam Colder get his greens to look like that? And I was like, oh, you can just like desaturate them and then make them more green. Like, oh my God, my photo looks so much better. And like, but to your point, Braden, to your question and to your point, like, I feel like it kind of just takes time.
Yeah.
Like, your style is constantly evolving, and I feel like someone might look at you and feel like you have your style and your niche like down, but you might feel like you're trying to constantly, you know, evolve and elevate as a creator. You did mention the Porsche. Has having the Porsche allowed you to like land work with other clients and kind of like position yourself, you know, as landscape photographer and car photographer, but like more niche or more specific, where you have like that specific look? And has that allowed you to work with specific clients?
Yes, it has. And that's why I got the car. I mean, I wanted a classic car. I've been drawn for the last few years for something, because I love cars. And I remember seeing a YouTube video like 2 years ago of like a 924, which was the previous model to the 944, which is what I have. And it was pretty sick. So it just kind of clicked, and I was like, this is the car I want. But I would love to use it in my own personal branding. Jayhawk has always talked about be the content. And I've taken that personally, especially like with like the whole AI stuff. There's this whole like big question mark of like, you know, are creators going to lose their jobs? And I think if you are the content, that's never going to happen. You are offering something that's unique to a client, and that's what I wanted to do with this car. And not just like, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket with this car, but it was another thing that I can use to, you know, leverage and put myself, you know, ahead of somebody else. So very long-winded, but yes, it has helped generate clients, and the reception has been really positive, which I'm very stoked on.
It was a big investment, right? You had to get it completely remodeled. What was this process like?
Yeah, so I bought it. I bought it for just under $4,000, but it was probably worth like maybe $700 if I had known.
No way.
It was pretty bad. So,
but did it drive or no?
It ran.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it ran.
I'm just making sure.
I was very naive with it. If I know what I know now, I wouldn't have bought that car. But that being said, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Sure.
It led me to a relationship with 944 Safari, and they're over in Arkansas, and that's who I sent it to have it restored. And that wouldn't have happened if I bought like a well-maintained one. But when they got it, they were like, "This is the worst engine we have ever seen."
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The head gasket was gone. So many things were broken. The fuel rail was hanging on by one bolt. He was like, "This could have caught on fire at any second."
You drove it to Arkansas?
They got shipped.
Okay.
When you went to go buy it, did you buy it off of like Craigslist? Did you go to a
Facebook
dealership?
Marketplace.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then the guy was just like, "Look at how awesome this car
Yeah.
is."
Well, it was a young kid. He was definitely flipping cars.
Gotcha.
But like I wasn't like fully naive. I knew what I was somewhat getting into. I knew how meticulous these cars are and how they needed to be maintained. I wasn't expecting it to be almost a full engine rebuild. But yeah, it was an investment. So because it was such an investment, I've made it a priority to use it because I want to get my money's worth, you know. But it's paid off, and it's definitely become. And I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I think it's become somewhat of an icon. I'm not the only one who has a Safari 944, and I'm not the first person. There's been people before me who have, you know, made some really cool stuff with them. But, you know, I took it to the Tetons, and you don't really see a Safari 1986 Porsche in the Tetons, you know, especially off-roading.
Is it stick?
It is stick.
You couldn't drive it, but I could drive it.
I'm not even gonna fight you on that because I can't drive stick. You know what? I'm gonna let you have that one.
Thank you.
Okay. T-Tones, is that in Utah?
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
But it's only like 4.5 hours away.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far do you think you could drive that car before?
Well, I drove it home from Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
When it
After
was-
the engine was...
Yeah, after it was fully rebuilt.
Was that the most fun drive ever?
It was, no.
No?
Like, you're driving through Kansas and it's just like fields. And,
Okay.
You know, but my wife, she was actually visiting some friends in Boston at the time. So I flew out to Arkansas. I made some content for the guys at 944 Safari. We hit some trails together. Super cool. And then I drove for a day, and then she met me. She flew from Boston. Instead of coming home, she flew, I can't remember Wichita, I think we were. And then she kind of drove with me, so I wasn't going crazy on my own.
Yeah, just stuck in one lane.
Yeah, man.
You're like...
So we were driving out here to your spot after we flew here, and we're driving. We're like, this is so beautiful. Like Utah, we're like, could we move here potentially? And so I want to know, like, we live in a city, and like Salt Lake, it's a city here, but it's just, you're surrounded by nature.
Yeah.
So how much do you feel like living in Salt Lake and in Utah inspires you and comes through your content?
I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't live in Utah. Like, when I moved to the US, it was straight to Utah, went to University of Utah.
And was that, did you moved to Utah because you went to university there? Here?
No, I got married. So I moved to get married. And it was a transition. It was a whole process. Like, I had some education in England, but it didn't really transfer very well. So I kind of started from scratch, dropped out.
Oh, you dropped out.
Yeah.
Do you, looking back on this now, we've talked to a lot of photographers, filmmakers that do end up dropping out. Do you think it was the best decision at the time?
Absolutely. It was I don't want to get into too much because it's a whole nother story, but as I was at college, I was working at a hospital in marketing, in a acute rehab hospital. So it was quite small. And I wanted to go into hospital administration. That was like the goal. And then I dropped out of college, and then I stayed at the hospital, and I was on like a different kind of path, whole corporate America, whatever. And there was this kind of moment where I was like, I hate this. Like, I was doing photography kind of for fun and like, you know, a couple of freelance things here and there, but I hated wearing the suit. I hated sitting at the desk for, you know, 9 to 5, whatever, 8 to 6. So yeah, I quit. And
how did you figure out though during that transition period how to make money with the camera? Or was it that you got another job in the time, or you had saved enough?
So I had another, part of the push was there was a company in Salt Lake that sold off-road trailers. They were looking for a content creator. So I kind of transitioned into that part-time. My wife was expecting a baby. Probably not the best thing to do, but we made it work. And so I was like part-time stay-at-home dad, part-time creator for this off-road trailer company. Taught me a bunch. We ended up parting ways, sadly. Not my choice, but that was kind of the push, really. Once I was let go, I was like, chatted to my wife, and she's been so supportive. She was like, if you want to do this, give it a year and see where you're at. And that was 2021, I think. What are we, 24? No, it was 22, I think.
22, okay.
Or 20, no, it was 21. End of 21. Yeah.
So you went really all in with this only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So impressive.
So I had one company that was on retainer for a year. So I had like a buffer. And then shortly after I was let go, I found another one. So I had 2 guaranteed like paychecks for 12 months. And so I gave myself 12 months. And yeah, it worked out.
was the stuff in the beginning, would you like take me back to that exact moment when you get let go of the job? You have the wife, you have a baby on the way. What's going through your mind during that time period?
I wasn't too stressed. I mean, it came as a surprise. Well, I kind of didn't really, actually. They were pushing me out, and I don't want to get into, I'm not going to badmouth or anything, but there was stuff there. I could kind of feel it was coming. I was overworked. And the biggest thing is my wife works too. So it wasn't like we were just done. She's a math teacher and she loves what she does, which is why I went to like part-time stay-at-home dad, and we got family support as well. So it's very kind of unique. We're super lucky and grateful and blessed. But it wasn't as bad as it felt. I saw it as kind of freeing. I knew I wanted to go out on my own. I knew I wanted to make less money for myself than more money for somebody else. And especially because we had our boy, I wanted to do something where I could take him with me. And obviously when he was a baby, we couldn't really do that too much, but now he's like 3.5 and yeah, he travels with me.
Fun.
Obviously I've got to have my wife too, cause it's hard to work with him if it's just me, but you know, I did some stuff for Sony Cine this summer, and we went to the California coast, to like Sonoma coast, and they both came, and it was the best thing ever. And I'm totally fine. You know, if I was to continue my path of hospital administration, that would have been, you know, so many hours of work, but also so much money. And I wouldn't trade what I have for being a hospital CEO or whatever it may be. Like, for me, it's all about family. And if I can work and have them incorporated, then I've made it in my.
I think a lot of creators, man, they don't understand that there might be this gap of time where when you do take that leap, I recently just took the leap, you know, you take this huge leap, and then the money might not be there right off the bat. And it's something that you have to get that retainer client and chip away at. And then I feel like you get to a point where it starts to double, and then you're tripling. And then you're like, wow, I'm making more now than I was at your hospital job. And it's like, now you get to do something that you love every single day. Yeah. That's got to be an insane feeling.
Retainer clients are so key when it comes to freelance because it allows you to have that stability. You were able to lock in 2. Was that just, did you pitch them on a retainer thing? And like, did you get advice from someone that told you like, hey, you should probably like, instead of just working with this client on a one-off thing, try to get them on a 12-month retainer so you have that stability?
One was luck. They reached out wanting to do a long-term thing. And I made sure we had a contract in place. And then the other one, I'd done a few one-off things, and I just kind of it was kind of like a, you know, after being let go, I was like, I gotta go for this. So I just put myself out, and I was like, hey, can we lock in 12 months? I can do this. This is what I want for it. And they said, yeah.
Wow.
So it was a lot of luck, for sure. And I definitely think looking back at the last 2 years, there's so much luck involved.
But you've said this a million times, like closed mouths don't get fed.
Absolutely.
And sometimes
you just got to go for it.
Sometimes it's just as easy as, hey, this is what I can do for you. I would love to like create a partnership and work together on a consistent basis. Like, this is what I can offer. This is what I would like in return. And you go from there.
It's amazing what happens when you ask, or when you,
Yeah.
you know, when you pray for it, when you're like, yo, you put it out in the universe, you manifest it, that stuff comes back.
Absolutely.
It does. Do you feel at all, are you hard on your work? Are you hard on yourself when you go out and you come back? What does that process look like for you?
And that internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do get in my head a lot, and I try to not, but especially like these bigger clients, the biggest thing, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but imposter syndrome is real. You know, I remember when I got my first yes from Sony Cine, and it was such a long time. I was driving to the gym and I just cried. I just broke down because I just didn't make sense to me. And it was like, I have all this weight and pressure, and I still can't deal with it, you know, but it gets easier. But I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I'm always in my head. My wife's super supportive. She gets me out of my head like all the time. And having a good like social circle, like all of my friends, we're all creators, and I think that's key as well. We feed off each other, we support each other. We get fired up when someone gets like a big gig or a big client or whatever it may be. And I think that's one of the biggest things.
How do you try to deal with the imposter syndrome? Because it's something Coast and I have definitely been through. Like, I think that at every creator's journey, it's going to come. It might even come, like you're saying, at the biggest moments. And it's came for me at the exact biggest moments when I'm like, I need to lock in right now. I need to do everything I've been doing the last 10 years. And then you get there and you're like, what? I'm not even pressing record right now.
I also feel like it just never goes away.
I know,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Because there's always like the next level.
Yep.
And
And
it's,
you're working with like a bigger client or
Yes.
stepping onto a bigger set, or you're putting more pressure on yourself. Like, can I deliver again? So I just don't feel like it ever goes away, but you sometimes find ways to navigate it.
Yeah, and I think it definitely helps me. It pushes me. Like, I feel like, especially if I'm punching above my weight class, like I have to fill those shoes. You know, there's that expectation. They've put trust in me, and even if I'm freaking out a little bit and I'm feeling like I'm not supposed to be doing this, like I'm not good enough, then I've got to change that mindset and realize, you know, they're investing in me. I got to do this one way or another. But I think what helps me the most as well is opening up to other people, whether it's my wife or its colleagues, and being like, hey, I'm struggling with this. I don't feel like I should be here. And then, you know, they support me, and it comes back around, you know, and that's the thing. It's just helping each other and just supporting each other. Like, the community is key in this.
was it hard when you first moved here from the UK to find community? I know you had your wife, obviously, but, you know, what was the creative community like out here?
So I moved here in 2015, and I didn't start really making photos until like 2018. So when I did that, I can't remember the exact moment, but you know, you start messaging people on Instagram, and you're like, oh, I'm in Salt Lake too. And then I remember meeting a couple of photographers. We were shooting full colors, full leaves and stuff, and we just kind of hit it off. Met my best friend shooting full colors, like 2019, I think it was. And I think Utah, Salt Lake City area in particular has a very good core group of creators. And, you know, we're not all in like one big circle, but there's just so many different, you know, we all have different, like focuses on how we create. But, I think it wasn't very hard here. And a lot of people aren't from Utah. You know, there's a lot that have come from California or all over the country. It's quite central, especially if you're a landscape photographer. But I think because we all have that kind of common passion, it's been very easy to kind of link up and meet other creators.
Yeah. You talk about how you get that call, you get that yes from Sony, and you get like emotional. What was that feeling like, and what was that first project?
The feeling was crazy. I can't really describe it really. Like, I was so fired up, but it was immediately followed by like, who am I?
Yeah.
Like, who am I to be doing this? But it wasn't like anything crazy. Like, it was a promotion for the FX3. And we did something on Instagram together. And I think because I had something somewhat different with my storytelling with a vehicle, and stuff, that's what helped set me apart a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, I feel like working with these big camera brands like Sony, Canon, DJI, Leica, like it's a bucket list thing for a lot of creators. I think your point of just having something that separates yourself just slightly, because there's so many talented creators out there, and they really have like the pick of the litter. They could work with whoever they want. So I just think it's so key that like you have those few things that really separate yourself.
Your interests, I feel like, too. And I remember when we were starting, I feel like many of the creators were like, it's just this one specific thing. And over the last like 3 to 4 years, you've noticed that everyone's kind of brought in these things that they're interested in. Like you got the car, you know, I got like a saltwater fish tank at home that I'll post about sometimes. And like, there's a bunch of nerds.
Not as sick as the car.
It's pretty sick. It's a really cool saltwater fish tank. You'd really like it. I'll show it to you after the pod's over.
He doesn't want to see it.
He wants to see it. And I think that's cool though. And I urge people to bring in those things that make us unique, because when you look at every landscape photographer, there's not very many that probably are in love with this Porsche and take it on these road trips and also shoot on Sony, and like all those little things make you that much more different from the next person. You know?
100%. I know you can't share too much about this upcoming project that you're going to be working on. What can you tell us about this upcoming project with Sony Cine that you're working on?
So I've had a narrative that I've wanted to make for a long time, but I just haven't had like the, you know, support, because I need assistance. So, and it's to do with the Porsche. So that's kind of what it is. It's a little short story, and that's, for me, that's my like next logical progression, is to make more narratives. I don't want to step away from like short form content, but I do want to dive more into the long form content. I want to, you know, I want people to be excited for the next short film that I'm coming out with, or whatever it may be. So having this opportunity to make this a reality is huge.
Do you think you eventually want to direct, or do you want to shoot still?
I honestly don't know. I love shooting, but a lot of these things I'm not behind the camera for the most of it. But I have those ideas. So maybe direct. I really don't know. Yeah.
Maybe you could be the director with the Leica sling, you know.
Totally.
That could be you too. You know, you might be able to join him now.
Yeah. Dude, God damn it. Okay. There's obviously a difference between creating short form content and long form content, more narrative style pieces. Talk to us about how the process has been different partnering with Sony, working on this narrative piece versus just going out there and creating some short form vertical content for social.
So my short form is not vertical. I'll put that out there right now. I'm 100% horizontal for my short form.
That's what I'm saying. That's amazing. Like obviously
that's one thing that has set me apart, I think. And I'm not saying I didn't start doing this.
You invented horizontal.
and some people get upset about when people post horizontal on Instagram, and I think that's weird.
Why do you think the tears happen, dude? People just cry.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's, I mean, short form, if we look at what TikTok's doing, they're pushing like longer stuff. Instagram's not there yet, but we do have a minute and a half, and I think it's the bridge for me, like doing those things. But I don't really see it too different, because a lot of my short form stuff I'm pulling from long form, and that's why I think long form is the best natural progression for creators, because you can recycle it for short form.
I'm in agreement with that, dude. I've been loving filming these YouTube videos wide with Nick and having just like an extra.
Totally.
You can always scale it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. How do you manage working with a client? This is obviously like you've had this idea for a while. How much creative control do you have? Are you going back and forth with them of like, hey, you can do this, but maybe not this? How do you maintain creative control with also having to like adhere to client, I guess, expectations?
Yeah. So I think with all the clients that I've worked with, I emphasize that I know my audience, and that's the reason why you're coming to me. In my opinion, like you've seen something that you like, then I need to have that creative control. And that goes with all of the clients that I work with. I've turned down jobs. I remember turning down a job with, I won't say who it is, but they made a soap, or a deodorant, should I say. And they wanted so much that was it crossed over into that influencer territory a little bit. And I try not to have that label as like an influencer. Nothing against people who make their living off being an influencer. I tiptoed the line a little bit, but they like wanted me to like announce the product in the first 3 seconds. They wanted to see it, you know, every X amount of seconds or whatever. They wanted me to end the video with like, you can buy this at this place. Like, and have you seen my content? That like, why are you coming to me if you know, like that's not what I do. And I think, I make that very clear at the beginning, that, you know, I'm going to do this my way. Obviously, if you have certain talking points, I'm happy to incorporate those. But because I don't want to fall into that influencer category, if I'm ever pushing a product, it has to be something that I can, one, stand behind, and two, utilize and use in my own life in a way that I can stay authentic to my audience, because I feel I have influence. It sounds cliche. I want to be known as like a creator who has influence, not an influencer. And I want to use that influence in the right way to stay authentic.
Bars.
Yeah, I love it. Clip that. What tip would you have for photographers who are looking to position themselves to get clients like Sony or like these other awesome brands that you've been able to work with?
And maybe some soap brands here and there.
Maybe a few soap brands just to pay the bills, dude.
I don't know. It's so hard, and it's cliche because everyone says it, but make a spec ad. You know, if there's a company that you want to work with, just make a spec ad. You're going to have to spend some money or hire some friends or whatever. Just get a group. And that's one thing. Like, when I'm given these opportunities, you know, I'll bring on my friends because, you know, we can create together. So, you know, get a group of people. Your friends, doesn't have to be your friends, whatever. Just grab some people, make something, and then, you know, send it off and be like, hey, I can do this. Because they want to see some initiative. That's kind of what, you know, if you slide into a company's DMs and be like, I love your stuff, let's work together, pay me some money. Like, they're getting those like 100 times a day. But if you're actually going out of your way and putting in the effort to make something that you weren't even asked to make, that it stands out to them, I think.
Are you making a lot of spec ads these days? And like, how much outreach are you doing to companies that you want to work with?
No, I'm not really making spec ads anymore these days. I'm trying to, you know, I'm making my own kind of things and hoping there's a lot of luck involved. You know, I want to maintain my own personal branding. So, you know, I make my short form just off some ideas that I have in my head.
Sure.
I do some outreach. I do have an agency that does a lot of outreach for me as well.
Oh, that's great.
We're still kind of early days. They've helped me with one project so far. Just with kind of legal stuff, which has been actually really good. And I think agencies have their place and they are great. So they do a lot of outreach. But like I said, it's still early days. But yeah, I'll, you know, if there's something specific, for example, there's a lens company that they just came out with some cinema lenses. So I sent them a message, I showed them. And that's the thing. That's why I love making these like short narratives and stuff, because I have it ready to go. And be like, hey, I've made these. Let's do something with your lenses, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I feel like if it's already part of your brand and your content, like you don't have to go out and make something new. It's like, this is my vibe. This is what you get if you want to work with me. How can we find a way to work? You brought up pushing products, or like, I guess, you're careful of the types of products that you promote. You have your own products. You make LUTs and Lightroom presets. When did that decision to make digital assets come, and how has that been for you?
So the presets I started selling, I'm trying to remember now. I think it was last summer, shortly after I got the Leica.
Okay, I have a pretty niche question about presets. Uh-huh. Are the presets based off of the photos that you take on the Leica, and then you're like tweaking them? You're like, hey, this is like my style, but like they'll still work if like you take a photo on like a Canon or a Sony. So
presets are definitely a controversial thing with photographers,
because I want to start selling them, and I've made a ton over the years. I'm just I guess a little nervous of like, this is how it looks off of like my camera. I don't know if it's going to look maybe the same either if they like shoot at a different time of the day or if they're shooting on a different brand.
I think one of the reasons why I'm so happy that I've fallen in love with the Leica is because before I had a very bad problem of switching cameras every few months. Canon R5, Sony A7 IV, Sony A7 R5, back to the Canon R5, Canon R6, Canon R6 Mark II. You talk to my friends, I've tried except Nikon, but I've tried everything.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I've tried every camera.
In the show earlier.
And
wrap it up, Nick. Wrap it up.
And I think so that's partly why I love the Leica, but the reason why I said that is because I have all these raw files of other cameras, so I've been able to test them out. But it sounds weird, but I started curating this preset pack that I have available now after I got the Leica, and I think the Leica files are so good. They work on any camera.
Okay.
And I've gotten that feedback from other people as well, who shoot Sony or Canon or even Nikon, FujiFilm, and they love them. They're selling. So obviously people are liking them. People are sharing them. People are talking about them. They're DMing me saying, I use this preset on this photo. And I think, I don't know if it is the Leica files, but I definitely did put a lot of time making these presets, but it was after I got the Q2, and I got the Q2 just before I went to Iceland. So I think I hold the Q and these presets in high esteem because I'm coming off this huge high of going to Iceland for the first time, midnight sun, like just absolute crazy adventure with my wife, and I got this new camera. So I kind of fed off that hype, built these presets, and then they started taking off, and then I started to develop some LUT packs. Well, just a LUT pack with I can't remember how many LUTs I have available in that. I think 10. And they're similar, but I differentiate them with, the grade in the shadows and whatnot. And some have a little bit more grain or a little bit flat or more contrasty. And once again, I'm getting great feedback. And yeah.
Are you shooting video on the Leica as well?
No.
Okay.
No, Sony 100% for video.
Okay, cool. Because I know that it does shoot video. I'm just like, I don't know if I'd ever actually.
The Q2 doesn't have log. So I did flirt with the Q3 for a bit because I wanted to use it as my ideal combo was the Q3 and the FX3. But then things kind of kicked off with Sony Cine, and I got the FX6. So then I went back to the Q2 because there was no need for those extra things.
I got to call these guys. Seriously. I got to call the fellas at Sony Cine because I think I want to dabble.
Dude, I know a guy
I want to slide into those DMs. Dude. I got a question for you. So when you start working with clients, what is something that you may have learned the hard way over these last few years? Because I feel like, honestly, Jonny, I look at your stuff. I can't believe you've only been full-time for the amount of time. Seriously,
yeah, it is pretty crazy.
It's mind-blowing to me.
Thanks.
I'm a little jealous. But I want to know something that you learned the hard way that you can save someone the headache.
Oh, that's a really hard one.
Anything, whether it's with contracts or maybe with negotiating or, outreach processes.
Contracts. Glad you said that. I got stung by an organic exclusivity clause. I worked with a car company, and I should have looked into it further. Obviously, vehicles are a huge part of my personal branding. And I understand, paid exclusivity or whatever, but they wanted organic because they recognized I did a lot of car stuff. So they wanted no car stuff surrounding this project. And I didn't realize, one, I was missing out. I left money on the table. And two, I kind of screwed myself over because I think it was a month after this project, I couldn't share my own car, my own truck, because it was an organic exclusivity.
Oh,
I've never even heard of that.
Wow.
Same. But apparently it's a thing.
And you gifted this content to them, or this stuff lived on your page, and then you couldn't post about your own car for a month.
It was a partnered post, and
I bet people are freaking out, dude. They're like, "You sold that damn car? You just got it. You just got the Porsche."
No, it wasn't the Porsche. This was before the Porsche.
Wow.
It was with my truck, but
But still.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
still, yeah.
And did it come from you posting the truck, and they're like, "Hey"?
No, it was. I think it was my fault. I didn't fully understand it and read it. I definitely think there was a little cheekiness on their part. But after clarifying it, contract had already been signed and stuff.
It's in the vault already.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, dude.
That's the thing. Read the contracts, and that's one of the reasons why an agency is so crucial, because most of them have a lawyer and they can do those things, and they're always just looking out for you.
Trying to get you the most money.
Yeah, exactly. And just making sure, you're not going to get screwed over. in like the fine print and stuff.
How would you say right now, if we zoomed out and looked at your business as a whole, what do you feel like the percentages are between digital products, retainer clientele, and maybe these cool brand deals that you get to do?
Digital products, I'm around like 20 to 25%. And then I've never actually like broken down the other stuff. I just kind of like mentally just have it all as just like, you know, content. But it is a split. It's probably like a 50-50 split between what I'm posting. No, actually, I would say it's probably less of what I'm posting. Maybe it's like the remaining 80% is probably like 60-40. 60% is licensed assets. Because I am very particular with what I share. I like my page to, I don't want my page to just be like a scrolling ad for a bunch of different things. Because the biggest thing that I advertise on my page is my digital assets. But then, yeah, a lot of the clients that I've worked with, I'm, you know, licensing stuff for them to use either internally, or they can run it as ads, or they're posting it on their own YouTube.
People sleep on the licensing.
The UGC.
That's really
Yeah,
where
no.
you can get.
And that's
a
the thing.
bag.
It allows you to fund, you know, your own passion projects or whatever. Like I've done stuff with Adobe where they're posting it on their YouTube. Like I'm making a video about, you know, a new update or something, and I don't have to post it. And people are sleeping on that for sure.
If you feel comfortable talking about this, do you happen to know like a percentage? Like let's just pretend a job was like $5,000. What would like a licensing percentage look like for people if you happen to know? If you don't, it's all good.
It's quite, for me, it's quite nuanced, I think. I generally, from, you know, people I've spoken to, if like, I don't know, actually, let's say we're doing a reel for like $4,000 and they want to license it for 3 months, I would do like, maybe, I think it's something, there's like a market standard of like 20%
Per
a
month
or
of
something
budget?
like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Something like that.
That's
It's
a
a
we-
percent of the actual
Yeah.
thing. But if I'm making a video that's like a full video that's being licensed, even if I don't have to post it, like it's very close still, like for
You're
what
still getting fee plus licensing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. I feel like people sleep on the licensing.
No,
dude.
100%. And same with photos. Like these big companies, they have money.
License it, baby.
100%. Like photos, you know, even if years are quite a long time, like, and that's money right there. And some people, I know some people who are giving photos away, you know, in perpetuity, and they're leaving so much money on the table. And it also sets a precedent. Like, you know, these companies are like, oh, well, I got free photos or, you know, for a couple $100 for forever from this creator. And it just hurts everybody.
I also feel like when you're first starting out, if you're not talking to somebody, you're not listening to a podcast like this, like you might not even know.
That's the biggest thing. People don't know, and they're taken advantage of.
But yeah, I feel like 20% is kind of like a
2025
standard.
feels good.
Yeah.
30,
40.
dude. Maybe
Come on.
50, maybe 50. What is your relationship with YouTube like?
So I do stuff on YouTube. It's definitely a whole different beast compared to Instagram or whatever. But it's a goal. Like I want to do more. That's the whole kind of like transition for me right now is more long form stuff. And I think a couple of great creators are talking about how YouTube is like the new thing to showcase your short films. I really butchered that. I can't remember exactly what he said, but Cam Mackey, he's a great cinematographer, great YouTuber. He did a video talking about this and like how it's kind of like a new wave. You're able to collaborate with people in a different way than has ever been done before. Brands want to hop on these YouTube projects. It's hard to explain, but it is happening. It's this just new transition. And not only is it a platform for you to share these things, there's so much money opportunity there as well. You know, obviously we want to make money. We want to earn our way as a creator, but it's just another avenue for passive income, whether it's from ad share, or if it's a sponsored YouTube video, or if it's just another opportunity for you to push your own digital assets, or if you're like an Amazon affiliate, whatever it may be. It's just another way for you to earn.
I was just talking to someone about like making short films and whatnot, and they were like, dude, you can, instead of having to go through trying to sell the damn thing, get it onto said streaming platform, if you build up your personal brand enough, you can share it right on YouTube and get a brand to partner with you and pay you to make said dream actually happen. I feel like that's happening more and more with Is there other short films that you've written besides this one, like this short narrative with Sony Cine, that you want to eventually post out on YouTube?
So I do have one particularly, and it's a long goal. I want to release a photo book, and I want to have a short film to go in conjunction with it. The kind of title I'm playing with is like Finding Home in the Desert, because obviously I left England, I moved to Utah. Obviously, I chased a girl across the pond, but whatever. But I found home here, and I want it to be a way to showcase all of my kind of desert photos and then have a short film. And I'm going to need, obviously, a team to help film it. But I do have kind of like a script that I'm working on, and then just basically just hitting all the cool places that I go to like every weekend or every week or whatever, and just telling my story, really, of how I found this home here. Because, I left my whole family and I was with this girl who I'd been dating for like a year, and that was it. Like, I'm thousands of miles away from home. I'm the youngest of four and completely out of my element, but, made it work. And obviously, she's home, she's family now. And, it's a whole thing. And I know that there's other people out there that can connect to that too.
Has the fam gotten to come out to Utah to see your home?
My parents come every now and then, like twice a year. They're retired. My brothers come. That's it. I got two sisters. They got families.
And are they based still in the UK?
They're all in the UK. Yeah.
Do you get to go home at all? Do you get to go?
We've been a couple of times since our kid was born. We have only been once, and then COVID happened, and then we've never gone back. We're going to try and go back as a family next year. And I do have another project. I'm trying to see if I can ship my Porsche to the UK and do a 1 month road trip across Europe.
That's crazy.
That would be the dream. I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I think it's going to be cheaper. It's 100% going to be cheaper than renting a Porsche for a month.
Sure.
What is it ballpark? What is
I think it's between like $15,000 and $2,500 to ship a car. But then I do have to get it insured with British insurance. They don't accept American insurance.
Have you connected at all with Tucker Doss or Carl Shakur?
I've spoken with Tucker, like just Instagram DMs every now and then. He makes some really crazy stuff. Like, never spoken with Carl Shakur. He's like one of my idols, though. He's they're both super talented.
We want to get him on the pod so bad, but they did like a full month road trip
in Italy.
And they were working with like Lamborghini and maybe Porsche, Ferrari.
There was a bike as well. They were with a bike.
Ducati.
Yeah.
I'm like, fucking living my dream.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. But yeah, no, I'd love to get the Porsche out there and then because I have the turbo, and I'll probably take the turbo out there rather than the Safari.
This is a turbo.
The black one's a turbo, yeah. So this one's going to the same people, 944 Safari, but we're going to keep it like street. So it's not going to get lifted. It's a lot better condition. But yeah, that thing puts out like 300 horsepower. And
when did you get this? Is this one stick too?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got this one like 3 weeks ago.
We're not messing around, dude. Wow.
Yeah, no. Yeah. You bring up your family, and I think it's so awesome that you're so family like oriented. Did having a kid change your view on success, and how do you manage work-life balance having a son?
Yeah, success. That's very. I don't know. I think you're successful if you're happy. I think that's the biggest thing. And he is such a cool kid. Like, I definitely see both myself and my wife in him. But, he's a typical 3-year-old boy. He loves cars. He loves Lego. He loves dragons and stuff. But he loves the outdoors. And I definitely think, that's partly because when we live here. But I try and get him out as much as I can. We go in the Porsche. We rip around.
Fun.
Got a little car seat in there that took us forever to find. It's actually the one that could fit in those tiny seats in the back.
That is awesome.
But he's tethered down, it's all legal, but yeah, he just has the best.
It's legal. We swear.
There's no airbags in the car, but he's the safest in that car seat.
Yeah, man. That's freaking awesome. And, I don't know how many parents we have that listen to the podcast, but for a parent listening to this, what advice would you have for a parent trying to balance creativity and being a father or mother and just dealing with being a parent?
It's tough. And, my wife and I, we've been married almost 9 years now, and we're still, finding balance because, our schedules change a lot. She takes on more responsibilities at school, or I get like a job, and there's definitely conflict. We're very lucky that her mum lives very close. And she's an absolute angel, and she helps out a lot. But now that our kid's 3.5 and he goes to preschool 3 days a week at my wife's school, which is super nice, super handy. But I think the days when I have him, just involving him with what I do is a great way to have that balance. He gets excited about it. He's always hammering away at my keyboard, or I'll catch him trying to lift the FX6 or something. A little sketchy at sometimes, but he'll grab the Leica, and I trust him with that. And he, I have a whole folder of photos that he snapped when he just gets his hands on it.
That's awesome.
Half of them are just blurry off the couch or whatever, but
stylistic.
Yeah,
slow
exactly.
shutter.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
But I've even made stuff like having him in the videos as well.
Yeah.
I did this whole thing in the beginning of the summer. It was like a cinematic dad reel, whatever. We just cut the grass, and he was helping me, and he was running around, and that's the whole point of this, just to have fun,
Yeah.
Do you feel like this job has really allowed you to be able to spend that time with your son and with your family?
Absolutely. Like, I'm seeing things, I'm watching him grow more than I would have if I stayed at the hospital. Like, I'd be coming home, I'll be tired. The last thing I'd want to do is to, deal with a hyper 3.5-year-old. No, I didn't mean it like that. Not the last thing, but I'm tired. Like, I want to just wind down or whatever. And I still get, obviously, I'm not saying being a creator isn't hard. There's still times when that happens, but I'm around him so much more, and I'm seeing him grow, and I feel like I'm not missing out. And I don't want to get like too into the whole 9 to 5, whatever, blah blah blah. But I don't think we don't exist to do that. I can talk about this for so long, but that's that comes back to that whole thing of like, I'd rather earn less for myself than more for doing whatever. That there's less security for sure. I don't have like 401k matching or whatever, health insurance. Obviously I'm on my wife's, which it's not.
I need Chloe to get on that, seriously. That whole I'm just raw dogging life right now. It's kind of crazy. It's like, dude, if I break my arm, it's gonna be like 100,000. So
you ain't got health insurance?
Oh, no chance. Yeah,
you don't.
No shot.
You got to get some of that.
I've left my job, dude. I'm just raw dogging life. I'm the one guy who falls a lot.
If there's one person,
I'm
that
nimble
needs
though.
it,
I'm super nimble.
That's what this guy drive.
That's what you're forgetting. I'm super nimble.
You drop everything. You're clumsy. You're
but
klutzy.
I'm nimble.
You're klutzy though.
You should have saw it though. We were playing softball this week, and I brought Nick for the first time, and I feel like I am a young Hank Aaron, and you doubted me. I felt like, and I didn't fall at all. Right? It was pretty impressive. I got a question for you though.
Sounds like you're tempting fate here.
No. Do you play softball? We got to get you out in LA. We'll bring you out. I feel like you could switch sports instead of the soccer. You try softball. You have a good build. I feel like you could really torque something.
Yeah, 100%. Be good at first base, third base.
When you were at the hospital, was there a time where like you're seeing like people maybe online and you're like, I want to chase this dream? Or did you talk to anybody? Or was it just like, I know I can't do this anymore. I got to get the heck out of here.
I mean, I was always seeing, like the tip, like Short Stash, like all those big creators living the dream. And that was definitely like part of it. Like, and it wasn't like out of envy. It was like, it was a thing to look at. Like,
aspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a goal. It was like, I want to do this, and it fired me up. But yeah, the biggest thing was like, I cannot do this. Like, I'm just feeling I wasn't born to do this. It's just not, and don't get me wrong, people thrive in those environments in corporate America, whatever. But it just wasn't for me. Did
it feel unattainable to reach the level of success that you're at right now?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
When do you feel like you have to sit up from the computer and say, wow, like I'm looking back and I'm actually doing the damn thing that I set out to do?
Honestly, recently, I think like
before we got here.
Yesterday.
I was doing like some kind of like accounting and stuff, looking over whatnot. And when I saw, Sony Alpha, Sony Cine, and Adobe, I was like, holy crap, this is real.
Multiple commas.
Yeah.
7 commas.
You see all those zeros? Let's fucking go. I feel you.
Yeah, he's got multiple lenses too. Yeah, you can't. I feel like once you get more than one lens, it's like, hey, I'm kind of making it. I'm making it a little bit.
I feel you though on that. Like, I got to go to Japan earlier this year with FujiFilm, and that was a trip where I was like, a little bit of imposter syndrome set in. I'm like, you guys could choose any creator you want. I'm getting to go on a week-long trip that's completely paid for with a camera brand that I really like. Like, how cool is this? And that you get moments like that every now and then where it's like, whoa, like a year ago or however long ago, I didn't think that this was like possible, and being able to take a step back and really you have that gratitude towards like where you've gotten to. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They had a lot of guys drop out. I'm hyped that they were able to get you there.
Dude, weren't you my +1 to Sony Kando this year? You didn't get invited, did you? I had to give you a bone.
I loved being there, and I've been told that I'm top of the list for next year.
We got invited though.
Yeah, well, speaking of Kando, that was a big thing as well. Like, I had huge imposter syndrome there.
Really?
That was my first one, and same thing. I was like, out of all the people who could have gone, like, why am I here? And after talking with a lot of people who went to that one, the whole common vibe was like, this is more of like a social thing. Like, it's very like relaxed, but it's a way to connect. So I'm talking with some of these people who've been my idols for so long. Like, I was chatting with Chris Picard. Like, I'm like, why am I here? Like, this is crazy. But
Chris's work is insane.
Yeah, it really is.
Crazy, dude. One day we're going to get Chris on.
Yeah.
Whew, he's a beast. God, it's so nuts.
That'd be awesome. Okay, wait, going back to YouTube real quick.
Yeah.
When did you hit 10K subs? And what was that feeling like? Was that like a huge milestone for you?
It actually happened. I didn't realize.
Really?
I think I was so busy with other projects. I'm trying to think what video kind of pushed it over the. Oh, it was. I did a video I think 2 ago. It was how I I'll grab my phone real quick so I get the name right. It was completely different to my normal stuff in a way, kind of. How I film my videos, filmmaking tips for beginners. I thought this video was going to tank. And
people love that education.
They love how to film a video or how to film one by yourself. I feel like that's one that's searched.
Yeah. We just put out one. It's bombing. I'm hoping that it takes off. But we did photography basics in 6 minutes. We were hoping that the educational stuff does well, but apparently not. Anyways,
like, one of my biggest questions, on Instagram in my DMs is like, how do you film these things?
Yeah.
Because often I'm filming just by myself, camera on a tripod. I'm running into the scene. I'm driving. I'm running back, grabbing the camera. So I was like, I may as well just do this. But the video structure was not the best. It's rough around the edges. I'm waffling quite a lot. But it's been up for 40 days. It's at 44,000 views, which I think is pretty good. And I was at 8K when that went live, and now I'm at 11K subs.
Wow.
So
what we would do for 44,000 views on a
one
YouTube
of those,
video.
dude. We need you to go look at our channel and tell us what we're doing wrong.
No,
We'll do a
absolutely
full
not the right
Maybe
person for
this
that.
collaboration weekend is going to get us over that.
I think so. But that's awesome.
That's sweet, dude.
And that fired me up because it reinforced that I was doing something right and people wanted to hear from me. So I definitely want to do more kind of on those education things, whether I could be like, this is how I film when I go on a road trip or whatever, or, because the Tetons I use the Tetons a lot because they're so close, and I love that. It's probably my favorite national park. So maybe something like that, like, some tips on traveling to the Tetons or whatever it may be. I don't know. Just trying to find ways to give back.
If we are filming by ourselves, there's a lot of filmmakers, I feel like, and it can be very isolating, especially if you're not from a city that does have a ton of other creatives.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are from a place where there's not this like community to lean on. So if they go out and they're filming, what advice do you have for them to film by themselves?
To overshoot.
Ooh, okay.
Like, so many times if I go out by myself, I'm like, I have like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's so much more time consuming. So I feel like I've done a lot, but all the back and forth, grabbing the camera, whatever, it takes up so much time. So you get in this kind of false sense of security thinking you've done so much, but then you end up with like hardly anything. So overshoot a crap ton. That's pretty much the biggest thing, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the go-to setup for when you're by yourself, for video specifically?
It kind of depends on the scene that I'm filming. Hard mounted shots, FX3, obviously, because it's just so small.
So you mean like in the car? Like
on the outside or the inside. I shoot a lot with Blazer anamorphics. Absolutely love those lenses, and I love them especially because they have a 1/4-20 on the lens itself, so I can mount on the camera with my suction cups, and then I have another arm to another suction cup on the lens.
Just safety.
Because that's the biggest thing where you get those vibrations, because that's the hanging point,
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
So if it's double mounted, it kind of is perfectly balanced.
The more you know. Do you have this suction cup with you?
I think it's in one of the cars.
We got to get weird today with some shots.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to fly. Dude, we're literally on the plane, and I'm looking around. I go, I forgot the goddamn drone. Dude, I'm pissed for the fall colors. The drone.
It's all good.
They're kind of on the way out. You may have missed them.
Oh shit! Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
In the valley, there's
see the snow though. The snow's a
yeah,
vibe.
the snow's sick. Yeah.
Are we doing T-tones later? What are we?
We're going
Tetons?
9 hours. You said right?
I don't know how you said they're close. I don't know where we're at.
5 hours.
Oh no, wait,
Oh.
Tetons, Wyoming.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, we can go up one of the canyons if you want. Like
Okay.
I don't
Let's
know
do it.
what you guys are feeling, but
We're feeling whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
I just want to see some snow and
Yeah.
take a cute photo with Costas.
yeah. We need a good thumbnail. For YouTube, you said you want to put more like emphasis on it. Is that something where, in an ideal world, you're posting every single week?
maximum. I think maybe every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because the videos that I want to do, you know, I want to take more people on my photo adventures, you know. Like, I think, try and remember.
Dude, it is, okay, I've tried this a few times, and it is so hard to try to film and get photos. Like, it would be a million times easier just having someone film you.
Well, that's why the Leica's so good, because I don't even know it's there. And I'm like video first. And I think the Leica makes making photos easy. I think it's a little bit of a cheat code.
I want to join this club.
Dude, I'm telling you, you re-inspired me. I've been shooting on the FujiFilm, love the FujiFilm, have nothing bad to say about it, but I want to shoot photos that I can turn into prints. And I was pixel peeping, and it's just, there's a difference. I was showing Braden the other day. It's like, it's hard to explain, but when you're looking at the Fuji photo and even like a Sony or a Canon photo versus the Leica, like there's a difference. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a difference, and the Leica just bangs.
Yeah, you can't explain it until you actually like use it and see it.
Next year, I'm going to join the club. What do you guys think I get? You guys are inspiring me. I want to be a part of this club.
Dude, honestly,
out.
honestly, for you, someone who like is so focused on video, I think a Q series, like the Q2 would be good, because the other ones don't have autofocus.
I want the autofocus.
Yeah, don't go
honestly.
with the M series, and their rangefinders as well, which I personally don't like. Some people love, obviously, the rangefinder.
Yeah, your buddy, when we were in New York, he let me try to pull, because I used
Did
to
an M10.
I used to pull for my job. Like, that's all I know is like how to pull focus. And then I was trying to do that thing, and I'm like, dude, this is a whole nother, everything was out of focus.
Yes.
I'm looking at it, and I was like, let me practice walking around his little NYC apartment and then just trying to like snap something. They're just completely blurry. I'm like, I could never do this in the street. Like, there was a bird. He's like showing us, he had a book, and he had this like pigeon, and it's just locked on its eye. And I'm like, how do you do this, man? They're crazy. and it has like those two little squares, and you
Yeah,
try
you
to
gotta line them up. Yeah, those rangefinder photographers are a different breed.
I don't know how they do it. So you guys think a Q2?
I think I like the Q2 because it doesn't have. I don't like the flip out screen on the Q series, and the Q3 went to a flip out screen, so it makes it like it's a little less flush, but it does have USB-C charging, which I miss. And then the Q3 can film in log, so if that matters to you.
I just don't. I don't know. I will say what I liked about the Fujifilm, and what I do like about the Fujifilm, is like you can get cool photos and you can shoot in logs. So like, I feel like it's a really great travel camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, something about you don't like the 43, the Q40. Is it Q43?
I had it for a month. It's just not for me. Like,
tight.
Yeah, and I've been so used to 28 for the last like 2 years. And the thing is, the Q28 can do stuff the 43 can't. Like, you can crop in. And I've talked about this in some of the YouTube videos I've made on the Q series. It's way different than just cropping in. They've done, and it's hard to explain, and people think I'm crazy, but they've done something with the sensor and the lens that's just magic. Like, I've cropped in, you know, because they have the frame lines on the Q series, and I've used like, you know, 75 millimeters, and they're so good. Like, it doesn't look like it's cropped. And I think that's what is so special about the Q series.
I was hesitant to do that because I was like, I was like, you're just cropping in on a fucking 28 mil photo.
Seriously, it's different.
You feel like it gets like a little compression? Or
well, so
like...
I don't want to get into this because people will come after me.
Okay,
but compression, I've looked into this. It doesn't really exist.
Do tell more.
There's a video, Tony and Chelsea Northrup have talked about this. Compression is, it doesn't change. If you were to stand at a point and shoot with a 28 mil and a 100 mil and crop the 28 mil into the 100 mil, it would look the same. You're thinking about compression because you're further away from the subject. So naturally, if you have a telephoto lens, you're getting further away. So the only thing that affects compression is the distance between you and the subject. So the fair test is you don't move and you switch lenses. There's so many articles out that do these comparisons, and obviously you're losing resolution, you know, if you're cropping in so much, but
Sure.
compression is, it doesn't exist.
It's fugazi.
Yeah,
The more you
it literally
know.
is. But I've gotten so
more
many arguments
you
with
know.
people, and I was arguing against it, saying, no, of course compression exists. But as soon as I saw these examples and, you know, watched some videos, I was like, wow, I've been lied to all this
Wow.
time.
I will also say though, last thing on the Leica is it's what is it, 42 megapixels?
47 for the Q2, I think.
Okay, so 40. I mean, that's still a lot.
Yeah, it's loads. Yeah.
So like
yeah.
you could get a really good looking image if you crop in to that
Absolutely.
like 50 or 70.
Yeah, especially for social media. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Interesting. What does the daily routine look like as your own boss?
Uh,
Are you getting up at like 4 a.m.? Are you
No.
are you normal?
Sauna,
yeah, no,
cold plunge?
I get abnormal.
He,
yeah.
he does
No
he
cold
does his
plunges.
ice roller to
Yep,
start
yep,
the
yep.
day. He's not going to tell you guys this on the show, but he told me before we rolled.
No, I mean, so it's different if my kid's here. So if he's in school, I have a little bit more of a lie-in, but otherwise I'm up at like 6:30, 6 o'clock. And then I have my routine with him, and then his grandma will take him. So I work kind of in between that. And then, yeah, it's just, you know, emails, pictures, whatever. And then, you know, it's whatever projects I have that's on my like priority list, kind of work on that. I try and get a post out on social media in the mornings, but
So you're posting every day.
Wow.
but I tie
really?
that, yeah, I tie that in with the gym. So I'll go to the gym and I'm religiously 20 minutes on the Stairmaster, and I do my post whilst I'm doing that, because then the time just flies by. I hate cardio.
It's called habit stacking.
Yeah.
Look it up, you guys.
But before I know it, I've done 20 minutes, you know, I've burnt like 300 calories and I'm feeling great and my post is ready, you know.
And those glutes are firing.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
so do you go out at least once a week to shoot, or what is that? How does that kind of?
Yeah, how do you have enough content
No,
to post?
yeah, I'm making photos like almost every day. Yeah.
So do you? And is everything quite close? Because dude, I'm telling you, to get over here, it's like it was 10 miles and it took us 10 minutes. And I'm like, dude, in LA, 10 miles takes 2 hours.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So tomorrow, this weekend I'm shooting a thing in the desert, and it's about 3.5 hours away. But it's literally just I get on I-15 and I'm on my I-15 for like 45 minutes, and then it's just 2 other roads.
Will this be solo, or do you like to bring a friend?
I got a friend coming, and then we're meeting up with another friend just to hang out. But this one friend's going to help me film, and then we're just going to shoot some personal stuff, get some static frames and whatnot.
That's the way to do it. We got to move to Utah, dude, or come out here more often. We were saying that like this trip is specifically just for podcasting, and I'm excited to shoot some, but like I want to come out here and like do one of like Zion's out here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, beautiful.
Yeah.
I was looking at the oh my god, what's it called? It's like 6 hours away. It's in the south. Those 3 things. The
the rock
what is it?
situation.
Yep.
What are they called? The red rock things. You know,
Red rock things.
what are they called? Come on, look it up.
Oh,
Look up red rock
man.
things, Utah.
Hold on.
It's like the classic photo of the. You got
Are they
it.
arches?
Yes.
Nope. This thing.
These things.
Monument Valley.
Monument Valley.
Yeah. That's on the border of Utah and New Mexico.
I was like, yo, maybe we can hit it. No.
Forrest Gump
6
Road.
hours.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've hit everything in this surrounding area since being here? Or is there still more to explore?
There is still so much more, and I'm branching more out into like the whole like public land, Bureau of Land Management stuff. Like I do go to the national parks, you know, now and then, but a lot of my stuff is just kind of like in the Utah Badlands, we call it, which is just more remote. Just a couple of small like country towns,
And you can just drive straight out to it.
for the most part. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So fun.
And the car handles it fine.
Oh, absolutely.
The Safari.
Yeah. The Safari is really good. Yeah. The only real limitation is if I'm in some like sandy stuff, because it's rear wheel drive, but it's got, you know, all terrain tires and it's got good clearance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You love cars,
Uh-huh.
obviously. Where did that love for cars stem from? And you're gonna start something based around cars soon. You haven't talked about it yet. I would love to hear more about it.
Okay. The love for cars, definitely my dad and my brother. My dad, he's always been like a car guy, but he never had anything like fancy. He was quite modest with his cars, but I do remember, well, I don't remember because I wasn't born, but he had a Spitfire, Triumph Spitfire. It was like a 2-door. They're really classic British cars, and I wish that they didn't get rid of it, but when they had my sister, I think they got rid of it. But then I grew up playing like Gran Turismo, you know, on the PlayStation, so that was like the biggest thing. Like I loved cars from that. My brother and I would play, and then we got Need for Speed and stuff, and so that's kind of where the love came from. But yeah, It's still super early days. Yesterday I actually had like a mindset change of I might change the logo, but yeah, I want to come out with a clothing brand that's kind of classic car, British heritage oriented, because I feel like there's a gap, especially in Utah, for like kind of British style clothing, and people like it. I think it's kind of classic and it kind of fits with like the classic car vibe. But I have some kind of crazy ideas that I want to do. I'm going to try and implement this weekend if I have some spare time, with that thing right there. I'm not sure if that's in camera, but
I think it is.
That's a helmet.
Fuck yeah. I'm going to toss that thing on.
And then
you're going to use a sword
with
too?
the sword too.
Are you actually?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Are we talking like armor? Are you wearing armor?
So
or are you photoshopping the armor?
No, so I do have some coming, and it's kind of crazy. And I think it's going to be fun for people to watch. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make it link with this brand. But it kind of does have a relation. I'm not saying too much because it sounds crazy in my head. And I just don't know if I'm running with this yet. But yeah, I do. I think that's I've always wanted to make some sort of like clothing brand.
You have a name?
So, yes.
Okay, we're not going to say
it's not ready yet.
Okay. It's not ready. But you were telling us you kind of want to do a clothing brand and also maybe like make some sort of community around it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like this whole like classic rally car thing. It's been around for a while, but it's getting more kind of popular, and I want to just offer like another kind of community alongside like this kind of classic clothing thing, particularly like as a creator. Like I've creators who are into like off-road cars, there's a lot of them out there, but I want to kind of have some kind of like a hub where people can kind of just kind of talk about ideas or whatnot. Still unsure of how that's going to work, but
I feel like people who like cars fucking love cars and they ride together. No pun intended, but they like,
they ride together.
It's a fucking community.
Yeah. And the thing is, like with the White Safari, I want to get like the whole like camera arm rig on there at some point as well. Like I want to use that as a chase car for some projects and stuff.
Oh wow.
Dude, we've talked a lot about
the
cranes.
the tilter crane.
We love cranes.
I got
here.
the roof rack. I got the hooks underneath. Like it's ready to go. I just need the stuff. And I actually have just started a dialogue with Tilter, so I'm hoping that kind of leads into something. I'm doing something small with their Hydra mount, where it's just the suction cups.
Sure.
We've used that before. It's pretty sweet.
I want to use it for the
does
FX6.
Tilta have the one that it
They have the big
It's one we use when we're in Texas.
No, but I saw a TikTok of one. I don't know if it's Tilta, but it's literally it's like mechanic. And if it like loses a little bit of suction, it like will fix itself.
Did you see that? It's
yeah,
digital.
I have seen that. Yeah. Battery powered.
Unbelievable.
We got to give him a
crazy.
call.
Yeah, super crazy. Haven't tried it. I want to try it.
What up, Tilta?
What's up? We got to give you a little ring. A little ring to the 505 squad.
Well, dude, I want to go shoot some cars.
I think we need to shoot some cars. I got another question for you.
Yeah.
Can I wrap it up?
Yep.
Do you mind?
I don't mind.
All right, Johnny, if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh man, I don't know if I can answer that. I think like it sounds weird, but I was on the right path. I wouldn't want to change anything. I would say just keep doing what you're doing, and it sounds like a cop out, but there's nothing I'd want to change because I believe things happen for a reason, and I think everything that I went through from 18 to 32 all happened for a reason. So I wouldn't want to interfere with that.
Johnny, I love it. Thank you so much for coming to this episode of the 505 Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here, please hit the subscribe button. Go give Johnny a follow down below, and we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.